Hey everyone, I'm going to go through this graphic organizer with you on our photosynthesis equation. And you can do this in your notebook if you would like. It's just a nice quick recap of general photosynthesis and kind of the overview. We obviously know there's a lot more to it than just the simple equation and the details and the enzymes and the processes that go with it, but this gives us kind of a wrap up of it. So my acronym for photosynthesis is going to be cows go. So let's see. I'm going to start with my carbon dioxide. If it wants to be my friend, carbon dioxide. And then I'm going to add water and sunlight, right? And then I'm going to just kind of make sure this is aligned properly so that it fits into our window. Nice and neat. And then my products from this are going to be, I want to make sure this is nice and large. The GO part, right? G for glucose and oxygen, right? The reaction with words, like I said before, carbon dioxide, water, sunlight. And again, sunlight isn't really the reactant. It's kind of like um, the catalyst that causes the reaction to go, but it just fits best in this equation right here. And then we got glucose being produced and oxygen gas being produced there as well. Our chemical equation, we should be comfortable saying that's CO2. And again, you can, if you're drawing this out in your notebook, you can easily do your subscripts. Google Docs does not do subscripts that easily. You can just write sun for that since there's no real equation that goes with this. And then C6H12O6 for glucose and oxygen gas at the end. Okay, the next step, it all depends on how detailed you want to get in this section. When are these reactants being used? So you can be really specific, or you can just generally identify where in the light or where in the dark reactions are they happening. And by dark, I mean Kelvin cycle or light independent reactions. So silly that there are 3 different versions of that. So carbon dioxide, we know is a really important molecule, and that one is used in the light independent reactions, aka the Kelvin cycle. If you want to get really specific, you could say this is happening in the fixation part of the Kelvin cycle, step 1 in that phase, where carbon dioxide fixes with our Ruby P molecule. I want to say molecule. Okay, that is specifically where carbon dioxide is used. Water, we know, is going to be used at the beginning of the light dependent reactions. And if you want to get really specific, you could say that this is happening in photosystem 2, the very first step of those light dependent reactions in the thylakoid. You could even say that's a good example of where that is being used. It's weird that that happened. In the thylakoid. So remember, in photosystem 2, water is entering, sunlight comes on in and energizes the electrons and also splits water in that step. So we can also say that, hey, sunlight is also used in the light dependent reactions, again in the thylakoid, because of those thylakoids having the chlorophyll and those pigments where they can absorb light. Sunlight is actually used in 2 locations, right? So it's used right away in the beginning to split water that we see at the beginning here. So it's used in photosystem 2 to split water, and then it's again used later in photosystem 1 to re-energize our 2 electrons to drop off their energy molecules or photosynthesis. So depends on how specific you want to be. But remember, photosystems are a protein that absorb light energy. So that makes sense that they're used in both photosystems. All right, our next one is, what about glucose? Where is this being produced? So this is made at the end of the height-independent reactions, aka the Calvin cycle, knowing that there's, again, different names, or the dark reactions. It depends on who found them. Again, remember the Calvin cycle requires 2 full turns in order to actually produce the glucose molecule. Okay. And then we have our oxygen gas. Where is that being produced? And that goes back to the beginning of the light dependent actions. So this is again happening in the thylakoid. Sunlight comes in, splits water, and oxygen is released from that chemical reaction of breaking down water. So that's where that one is occurring from. All right. Hopefully that helps you and just gives you a nice little overview of photosynthesis.